Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome back to another amazing video by yours truly. Today we are back in the mafia world, and I am so beyond excited. Literally, if you know my channel, if you know me, I love mafia books, and especially 2024, I read like so many mafia books, but I'm getting off track already. But today we're going to be talking about the Boston Underworld series by a Zavarelli. It was really good. This was one I haven't ever heard of, and I feel like it was very promising, and let's just jump into it. So this is 6 books in the series. It takes place it takes place completely in the Boston Underground series, but mostly in 2 different mafia people, worlds, whatever. One is the Irish Mafia, which is the majority of our characters. I think only 2 are in the Russian Mafia, which is the other one. Yeah, I think it's only 2. First book in the series is Crow, and I gave it 3.75 stars, which is a really good start to a mafia romance series, and I finished it December 3rd, if you were curious. And basically this one follows the story of Crow. His name's Lachlan Crow, but most of the time they just call him Crow, and Mackenzie or Mac. Mackenzie, her best friend, has mysteriously disappeared, and she fears that it's a bad situation for her friend, so she's trying to find her really, really, really desperately. They both were raised like kind of on the streets. They had bad upbringings that brought them together, and they were like each other's found family. So it's a really big deal that Mackenzie finds her friend. And her friend was working at one of the Irish mafia mob. What's the difference? Please tell me the difference between a mob and a mafia. Is it just like the same thing, just like different titles? I don't know. Anyways, the Irish mafia, one of their clubs, they're like dance clubs. I sound so old. Oh my gosh. One of their dance clubs, it's called Salante, and it's like a through line through most of the series. But she was dancing there before she disappeared. So her friend is like, okay. The things I know, she was talking to this Russian guy, she was working at this place, and then she disappeared. So she has like no information. The police will not help her. So she's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a job at Salante, and then I'm going to work out what happened to her and figure out who did it and like bring them to justice and hopefully find her friend. I mean, she still has hope that her friend is like alive and doing well. Now, Crow is an underboss, right? Yeah, I'm testing my mafia terminology. He's an underboss, or aka like one of the head leaders, but not the top leader. Like still there's like the mafia kingpin, and then there's like the underbosses under him. So he's an underboss, but he's trying to become like the leader. And he runs everything at Salante though. So she comes in wanting a job, and he kind of is really wary of her at first. She also is a fighter, like her dad's a fighter, so she like boxed one of his men and won. And so he's instantly intrigued by her and is like, what's her deal? What's going on? And she is like doing stuff with the Russians, like not doing stuff, but like the Russians don't like her. So the Russians ask him to keep an eye on her, So he's doing that, and then he's also kind of intrigued himself. So then they kind of just start like forming a relationship that way. Overall, I felt like this book was a really great introduction into the world. I think it introduced us to a lot of the guys that are going to have books later, starting to get you to like them. I think it set up the relationships between the brothers really well. I think the story between Crow and Mac was really sweet. I think it had a lot of really good qualities, and it also started this like B plot that was talking about what happened to Mac's friend, which is a through line through some of the rest of the series. So I feel like that did a really good job of setting up then too. So overall, again, 3.75. This is a good book. I mean, if you don't know, my average rating's like usually at 3, so that's just like, you were good. Not offended. I'm not annoyed. I would maybe read again, but can't guarantee. 3.75 is like, I would probably read this again. Definitely recommend to people. Very good. Next is Reaper, and I gave this one a 2.5 star. And this one follows Ronan and Sasha. So Sasha is a dancer at Salante, and Mac befriends her in the first book. And then and like you see in the background, I love when that happens, when you see in the background, like we see Ronan and Sasha interacting, and we're like, why is that weird? And there's even a scene at a place I don't want to spoil anything. So at a place, and it's like we see it from Mac's perspective the first time, and then the exact same scene happens and we see it from Sasha's perspective. When I love when that happens. But anyways, they are like weird. I think that's the best way to describe them. They're weird. They both like each other, but like for some reason they can't be together. And Ronan is the guy in the mafia universe. They always have one that's like weird. He doesn't have like emotions. He's probably a psychopath, but I don't really know. He's like never really like loved anybody. So he's that trope, which I really don't know what to call, but is in every mafia romance, I feel like. So that's him. But he's like obsessed with Sasha, but he doesn't know what to do with that. And then, because he has like a really traumatic past, obviously. So he's dealing with that. And he's like, I can't love anyone. I can't take care of anyone. So he's just kind of like lurking, I think is a great word for Ronan. He's just lurking around her all the time. And then on the flip side, Sasha, she, like I said, she was a dancer. And she first meets him because she's like dating, rough term for that, another one of the Irish mafia members, and then he kind of like brings her into the dancing, and then he disappears, and then that's kind of when her and Ronan's story kind of start, and we see like their stories start and then like see where it is now. And she's also like struggling with her mom. Her mom's dying. She's not really close to her sister, so there's like intrigue there. I gave it a 2.5 because I liked it, but it wasn't like groundbreaking, earth-shattering. Also, that trope of like the guy who might be a psychopath is never my favorite. I think Cora Riley did it better with, I'm not gonna remember, but it's in the Kimura Chronicles, one of those ones. She did it better with Nino. Nino is like makes more sense to me and is a better character, and I think there's more development. Not to say that this one doesn't. I just think for me that's like my more high star example of this, and then this one just kind of fell flat to me. It was still good, it was still enjoyable, it was still a really easy read, but they just weren't my favorite couple in the series. The next book is Ghost, and I gave it a 1.25. And hear me out. Okay, so this one is Talia and Alexei. He is Russian. This is part of the Russian mafia now. We see Alexei, he talks to Crow in the first book, but that's like basically all we know of him. He's just very like elusive. He is also an underboss in the Russian mafia, but he's like really high up. Like he's basically the second in command. So he's kind of untouchable, which is fun. And Talia, fun fact, is Mac's friend from the first book. Remember that? So she is alive. I was going to say well, and then I was like, well, I don't know about that, but she's alive. And Alexei tells Mac in the first book that he will help try to find her, and that he does. He does find her, and he does rescue her from a really bad situation, and then he starts falling in love with her, and she does as well, and then there's a story around it. Okay, why I gave it a 1.25. This is one of the books. Please check the trigger warnings before you read any of these books, especially this one. I think the ones too before it like mention it, but it's not really like a plot point, but this one is a major plot point, and it has a lot of discussion of like grape and things like that, and it's just not fun for me to read those things. I'm not judging anyone who like obviously likes, they don't like reading that. It's like the story after that and how she overcomes that and how she is a survivor after that. I understand that. It's just like not my cup of tea. And I found these in mafia stories, like a lot of times these stories are just like not my favorite. And I feel like there's no way around it. Literally, if that happens in the story, if it's like that trope, it's already getting a 1 to me, and it's not going to get any higher than a 2. I gave it a 1 point, or honestly not even higher than a 1.5. I gave it a 1.25 because I did like some of the story after it, but just not enough to make it any higher than that. I think it's hard for me sometimes with like the like broken girl trope. Like, she felt so broken and not ready for a romantic relationship to me. So it was kind of hard to root for the relationship when I was like, she needs to heal more. And I know there's healing that's happening within the book, but I'm like, she needs to heal more and like away from kind of a Stockholm syndrome-y situation, if you know what I mean. Like, it really is so unrealistic to me, or if it's realistic, it's really toxic to me, so I felt like I just couldn't root for them, even though I didn't dislike them being together, if that makes sense. But I know other people like stories with that plot line, so if that's you, you might really like this book. The next one was the one I was most excited for in the series. When we were first introduced to all the guys, I thought he was going to be my favorite guy, and that the book is Saint, and I gave it 3 stars, so very like, eh. I mean, still good, but just like mid, you know what I mean? So the story is Scarlett and Rory. Scarlett is friends with Mac. She is friends with Talia and Mac. They all like grew up on the streets together. So she's been in like the books kind of in the background as a background character. And Rory is also just obsessed with her. Very boy obsessed. And a lot of these ones in Boy Falls First. And Scarlett also has some things going on, some mystery, some intrigue. She is dealing with her past basically, and revenge is all I'm gonna say. So she has like a big plot point around that. And then Rory is just like I said, like obsessed with her and wants to do anything he can to protect her, and is really upset that she's going after this like revenge plot line. And he's basically trying to help her, and he asks her out like all the time and stuff, and she's always the one that says no. So I will say I did super enjoy her backstory in this story. I wasn't really expecting it. Maybe that's just me. That's not what I thought was going to happen, and I thought it was good, and I thought it was interesting. My only criticism is the way that plot line of her backstory ends, I think is lame. Like, it's all this like hype, and it's really high stakes, and it's like, yes, it's building tension, it's building like all these different things, and then I feel like it just really falls flat in like the actual execution of the resolving of the conflict. So it's kind of like, we're climbing up this hill, and then it's like, oh, the hill is like a plateau. Like nothing's happening. I don't know if that's a good analogy. That doesn't seem right. But I was trying to think of the thing they teach you in like primary school. Primary school, I watched too much Zoella over Christmas. Whatever, grade school, where it's like the arc of a story and it's like a hill. Also, sorry if the lighting's changing a lot. I'm trying, but the sun sets so early still. And your girl has a full-time job. I'm booked and busy. But, you know, that's life. Anyways, I'm getting so off topic. The story was good. Like I said, I liked her backstory. I liked them as a couple. It just was like missing the extra oomph for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought I was going to be obsessed with Rory. I thought he was going to be one of my favorite book boyfriends. Definitely this favorite of the series. I just feel like he wasn't. And I don't know why. I can't quantify why he wasn't. Because he was still really lovable and still really great. He just wasn't it. And the one is coming up. The it boy is coming up. So don't you worry. He exists in this universe. This just wasn't it for me. So it's still really good. It just like, I was expecting more from the lead up. But it was still very interesting and still would definitely recommend. I was right. I'm so amazing. There's only 2 in the Russian Mafia. This is the second one. It is Thief. And I gave this 1.75 stars. That's low. Lower than I thought. It follows Tanika and Nikolai. And basically the plot is that Tanika's father he owes a lot of money to the Russian mafia. So Nikolai takes Tanaka as like collateral, if you will. So again, we see them in other ones. We see them in the Talia Alexei video. Cool. Book. Thank you. Because Alexei and Nikolai are in the same mafia world. Obvi. They're in the Russian one. Anyways, this one was, I don't know why I gave it 1.75. I feel like I'm kind of forgetting something bad then that happened in it. I don't know. I feel like this one was, I don't know, like unmemorable, I would say. I was really excited about this lead up too. I thought it was a fun idea because you could clearly see in the other book that like Tanaka was like very much in love with him. So I was like, oh, I'm so interested to see how that lead up goes and how it works. And also, I think what I knew it was off to a bad start. They described him with a faux hawk. I'm sorry, he's supposed to be like a tattooed mafia bad boy with a faux hawk. I couldn't do it. I literally laughed when I read that. No hate to A. Zavarelli. I'm picturing like not the same thing. Like those don't correlate to me. Not saying you can't rock a faux hawk, but like rocking a faux hawk and being a mafia man and a Russian mafia man at that, like that doesn't compute to me. I don't know. So that was confusing to me. And I think, yeah, I like don't even know what to say about this book because it was just kind of unmemorable to me. Like, I think I love that trope in mafia ones where it's like they're collateral. I know that sounds so bad, but I do like that trope. I think it has a lot of potential, and I just didn't feel the tension, the wanting. I was rooting for them, but like, if they didn't work out, kind of my thoughts and emotions. So I feel like it was just a very, eh. We've gotten kind of dark, and I apologize for that. I'm like, come on, we gotta finish. Okay, we have one book left. And if you're like, Julia, you said there was a book boyfriend that we should look forward to, and this is the last book. You're connecting the dots, I see there, love. Yes, Connor is the last book, and I gave it 3.75 stars. Loved it. So good. So amazing. So this follows Connor and Ivy. Connor is like, he's kind of the little brother of the Irish mafia men. Like, he's in all the books and they kind of are like, he's a new recruit, he's new, he's really young, and I feel like they treat him like a little brother, which I really like seeing, and I think it's really cute. Especially him and Rory are very big brother, little brother, very cute, very found family moment. Cute. And Ivy is kind of thrusted into the mafia world. She was like working as a waitress, and then this other mafia guy was like, I want you, and she didn't really have a say, if you know what I'm saying. And then so then she was like, oh, I'm free, sweet. But the Irish mafia was the one that did that. So then they are like, she might know too much. We don't know about that. So basically Crow puts Connor on the case of like seeing how much she knows and like sussing out that situation there. And Connor is like not really happy about it. He's just like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do this. She's annoying, and like he's kind of like grumpy. It's kind of grumpy sunshine. I'm gonna say it's grumpy sunshine. You can disagree, but like I feel like it's kind of grumpy sunshine. But yeah, so he has to like follow her around, and then she's kind of like, why is he following me around? And even though it's a little bit later on in the book, I'm gonna say it because it literally says in the description. It's a marriage of convenience. Basically, to save her life, he has to marry her because they're like really like wives are off limits for anything. So he marries her, and it is really sweet. And I think I really like Connor. He's so sweet. He's like a sweet mafia boy, and I love when that happens. Like, he doesn't want to fall in love with her because he's been hurt in the past, and he has like nothing against her specifically. He just like is like, I don't want that again, that feeling, that hurt. And he's still finding his way, and then but he's so nice and so sweet, and he's so sweet to her, and I feel like it's a really cute story. I wish it was longer, honestly. I think it would have gotten a higher, like maybe even a 4 or like 4.25 if it was longer. I just wanted more. I feel like we could have developed their relationship just like a little bit more, because like between the time of like the first kiss to like being like, I love you, like I wish there was more in between that time, kind of them like developing, personally. But I still really, really enjoyed it, and it was like a great end to the series because I liked Connor through the series, but I didn't know how much I was going to like him in his actual book, which I love when that happens, when it's like a surprising, which I feel like every series happens. Like, the person I thought was going to be my favorite is usually not my favorite, and then the person who is my favorite, I was like, oh, you were kind of just like a background character to me. Like, that's crazy. And I love that authors are able to do that. And like, still very true. Like, they're still true of what they did in the first through fifth books. It's not like they changed characters or like change personalities. So cool. Sorry, thanks for sticking with me in the dark. I mean, kind of dark vibe, dark mafia romances. Like I said, I love mafia romances, so this is like one of my favorite things to talk about. I want to read even more mafia romances. Every time I finish one, I'm like, I need to read more. I have a couple that are on my list for this year. These are like my favorite videos to make, mafia ones, and I feel like they're honestly what does best on my channel, low-key. So you guys obviously like watching them too. So if you have recommendations or like specific ones you'd like me to read, please drop them below because I would love to like do something that you want from me. But like I said, I have some that I'm still gonna do. And thank you so much for watching this video. I have so much fun talking to you guys. It's literally like so nice and so amazing. I'm so happy we're starting 2025 off with one of my favorite things, mafia romances. And thank you so much for watching. You are beautiful, kind, sweet, amazing, and so, so, so loved. And I will see you guys in the next one.